Hi everybody, it's Ardalis, and in this quick video I want to show you how you can quickly improve your PowerPoint presentations, and I'm going to give you a good, better, best approach. So I've already got a PowerPoint presentation open. We're going to talk about value objects. You don't have to know anything about value objects. You don't have to care about value objects. I just want to make a point about how we present this information. So when I'm first getting started creating some training material or some type of presentation, usually the very first thing that I'm going to do is something like this. I'm going to create a PowerPoint. It's going to have place for collecting my thoughts, and I'm going to start just dumping information in here about things I know. So what do I know about value objects is they don't have an identity, so do not have identity. They are typically immutable. They should be immutable. They are generally compared using their attributes or properties. And let's go, we want a couple more bullet points. I want there to be a lot of bullet points because that's usually where the problem starts. Generally need some context, perhaps from a parent type. And usually a good reason to add value objects is they can improve your ubiquitous language. It's a term from domain-driven design. And they also help eliminate a code smell, the primitive, we'll even capitalize it, the primitive obsession code smell. All right, so that's not a bad way to start a presentation. You've got some information here. Here's where the problem starts. Now we go to give this presentation. Hey everybody, I'm Steve. I'm going to talk about value objects. And then I show this slide and I say, value objects are a design pattern that you can use, and they have a few characteristics. For instance, they don't have an identity. They generally should be created so that they are immutable and you can't change them. Once you have a value object, you can compare it to another one by using just its attributes or properties. However, because they don't have an identity, they don't really have any context. So usually you need to add some context in order to make sense of a value object. Now, once you've created these types and given them a name, it can help improve your ubiquitous language, and they also help you to eliminate the primitive obsession code smell. Okay, so that might be how I would convey this information in a presentation. And you were probably kind of bored listening to me tell you that. And here's why. All right, I'm going to fix this with one simple trick that you can use to improve your PowerPoint presentations. And remember, you've already seen me go over this bullet point material twice at this point, but it's still going to be better when I add this one trick. And just to make sure that there's no tricks going on here, I'm going to use the exact same audio with this new change that I'm about to make. So inside of this slide, you can just click on this giant text box, go to animations and say appear or fade. Either one of these. I wouldn't do fly in or any of these other ones, but fade is usually pretty nice. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so each one of these points will show up as you want them to as you give the presentation. And so now when we start the presentation and we go to that slide, it's more like this. And I'm going to start the audio that I already did before, so it's the same audio. Value objects are a design pattern that you can use, and they have a few characteristics. For instance, they don't have an identity. They generally should be created so that they are immutable and you can't change them. Once you have a value object, you can compare it to another one by using just its attributes or properties. However, because they don't have an identity, they don't really have any context. So usually you need to add some context in order to make sense of a value object. Now, once you've created these types and given them a name, it can help improve your ubiquitous language, and they also help you to eliminate the primitive obsession code smell. Okay, now why is that better? Well, obviously people are going to read ahead. People can read a lot faster than you can talk, and if you try and talk as quickly as the fastest readers in your audience, it's going to be impossible for them to understand what you're saying. And they're going to be splitting their focus between what they're reading and what you're telling them. So a couple of things that will help. First off is don't give them a wall of text to read, even if they're bullet points. And secondly, don't just say exactly what the bullet points say, right? You notice that when I gave the presentation, I didn't just say what the bullets said. I said something kind of like that. And the bullet points gave me a little bit of a pointer about what I wanted to say, what point I wanted to make, but I didn't just read it. right? So that's another thing. Now, that took almost no extra time, right? I spent the time to just brain dump out the bullets that I wanted to cover, and then I added like one thing to that PowerPoint slide by adding an animation, and I dramatically improved how that is coming across to the audience because they can't see all the text up front, right? So they're not ignoring me while they read, and they're not bored with me because they've already read it. So it's both of those things help. Now let's talk about what we can do to improve it even more. Now this does take a little more time, so I'm going to pause the video for a second, and I'm going to go work on improving this slide deck to the next iteration, and then I'll come back and we'll do it one more time. Okay, now I've spent a moment to add some additional slides. And so the pattern that I like to follow is to start out with just a set of bullet points per topic, per slide, and then change every bullet point into its own slide. So when you do that, you get something that looks like this. And again, I'm going to try and use the original sound to go with these slides. Value objects are a design pattern that you can use, and they have a few characteristics. For instance, they don't have an identity. They generally should be created so that they are immutable and you can't change them. Once you have a value object, you can compare it to another one by using just its attributes or properties. However, because they don't have an identity, they don't really have any context. So usually you need to add some context in order to make sense of a value object. Now, once you've created these types and given them a name, it can help improve your ubiquitous language, and they also help you to eliminate the primitive obsession code smell. All right, so what did you think? Even the last time where you were hearing about value objects for the third or fourth time just in this short video, I hope that you saw that it was much better at conveying the information by adding some interesting visuals or some associated context to each one of those points, and not making it so that the reader is just reading ahead while you are trying to convey your points. It does take more time, significantly more time, to come up with those one slide per bullet point approaches, but it does produce a much better end result. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, especially that person that just did a PowerPoint presentation that was nothing but full walls of text points. Maybe they would get something out of watching this video. Thanks a lot. Keep improving.